So we started off this experiment obviously by looking at the apparatus, and we sort of did it as a response to upstream colour as well. So with the when I read green criticism, I literally just read I read half of Ecology's Rainbow, and the bit that stuck out to me most was this idea of the green and the colour, and the idea how it's all criticised from this one colour. So we look at the on our coffee cups, the recycle symbol, and they're green arrows, but what does that green actually entail? These ones aren't green, but we already have the notion of them being green because we're so accustomed to it. And then I read The Nightmare Network, and I read into it very deeply. As I read it 3 times, each with a different reading. But this is how I analysed the text. I broke the classified ads down into 3 separate short stories, and every time I read it and I saw a quote and I thought of something, I wrote it down. And this blog post took me 4 hours to write, because I had all these things coming out of my noggin that I just I have to get it down, else I'll forget. And it was going through this and rereading everything and wondering what I'm actually doing here. How am I making all these connections between what the words are and what the film, where all these relationships lie between the human, the non-human, between all the different agencies. And that's when, using this, I thought I pointed the guys to my blog post and like, I've done this, but I've gone into so much detail that I've forgotten to see the bigger picture, which is there's all these relationships. Are we going to analyse the minute relationships, or are we going to look at it on a bigger scale and just look a bit like in Select's reading from Ecology's 2, it's where you look at it from Jupiter looking down, or are we going to go in like a microscope? So when we started formulating the ideas, we were like, right, what is conventional narratives that we all like? What will work? Where are the relationships between the human and non-human in everyday life? And it was the idea of baking came up, and the ever-loved Great British Bake Off is a household institution, such as Mary Berry herself, that we sort of, okay, what are we going to look at? Are we going to look at baking as a whole, or are we going to look at the process of a cake? We decided the process of baking a cake, because as I mentioned in one of my other blog posts, similarly to Zelinska's work, it's about the work of the honeybee. We all know that the honeybee, or the bee in general, as soon as that goes, humanity is gone. Life on this earth will slowly deteriorate, and we just thought, okay, what's bigger than that? What's smaller than that? And that's where we started to formulate the idea of, okay, how can we show this to you in the form of a trailer for either a TV show or a film?
Yeah, initially Aidan pointed out the idea of the honeybee as something quite important really, really early on in the project, and I think from stemming from the idea of the honeybee, we sort of branched out into, instead of focusing too much on the Great British Bake Off, the whole idea of this being the show, we focused on the act of baking, and I think what those assemblages entailed, within the construction of a cake and all of the elements that are involved in that construction of a cake.
Yeah, so we started by thinking about, because we were so focused on the bee thing, we were thinking about like what can we make that has like honey in it and stuff. So we went for a honey cake, but then obviously we didn't want to focus too much on just the bees, so we made sure that it was a very simple recipe, so we weren't like over complicating the video, because if we'd had too many ingredients then it would have just been like a mess and I don't think you would have understood it. So with there only being like 5 ingredients, we focus on those 5 ingredients as we're making the cake, and showing like that importance of where we get these materials from, and it's not just a focus on just making a cake to eat it. It's like what happens when when you make a cake, really, but like the in-depth side. I thought of it instantly, like there were those TV shows that used to be on, like How It's Made, and so like that like inspiration kind of came from there as well, I think, because they obviously show you like making of the wheat and the sugar and stuff like that. So
With the response to Upstream Colour, how we know how it was said that every element is ecologically entangled. When we looked and wrote down the process of this cake, we're like, right, okay, flour comes from wheat in the field,
yeah,
honey comes from bees.
Yeah, we literally
cows
we
and
laid it as a list
butter.
and started, and hopefully the aim was to sort of focus on the idea that we didn't want to overcomplicate something too much. So if we made something that was simple but not so subtle that it would just be sort of not obvious.
Yeah, and it doesn't just look like a tutorial on how to make a cake.
Yeah, pretty much.
And obviously sound's a big thing for it as well, because of obviously the different sound effects of when you're making a cake, and then to the contrast of when people are making the materials to be able to, so you can make a cake. It's very like
We'll play you the thing
striking.
and then
Talk a bit more.
yeah.
So this is Layer Cake. It's a trailer, not associated to the film.
Yeah.
That's already made, by the way. It's a trailer, and it's going to be either a TV show or a film, depending on how far our creative juices can flow.
Pretty much.
And if it's a film, it's a short film.
I'd like to give a special thanks to Royalty Free for providing me with absolutely every single bit of this footage. Okay, so if it's okay, I'd like to read just a little bit of something that I wrote before I even edited this video. Nicholas Holmes' text on the ecology crisis, non-humans in the age of man, supports our understanding of taking apart the Great British Bake Off and highlighting the non-human processes that are essentially making cake by exploiting what page 1 of the text states as human cultures and societies are entangled with what once was called nature. Nature is one of those ever-present yet somewhat uncomfortable words that structure our everyday lives. The idea of an entanglement is an element which will be highlighted throughout the process of this trailer by exaggerating features such as the noise of mixing cake batter or the cracking of eggs. Elements such as anger, frustration and repression would sort of, come through. Our aim is to highlight the relationship with nature is damaged through its non-human agents and disrupt what Holmes states as Entanglement instead suggests that systems must always be conceptualized within collective terms, which denotes that existence as a process of acting together. So I really enjoyed this text, and I think this whole idea of working with nature, working for nature, was something that I think came through.